Houston Real Estate Radio.
Welcome back to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and today we've got Jess Bailey joining us again. She's been on the show before, and she's going to talk with us about title policies. There's a lot to know about title policies, and Jess Bailey is with Bailey Law Firm, and she's been on before talking about some different things, but today we're going to focus more on title insurance because a lot of people have questions about title insurance, and a lot of people get them and don't know what to do with them. So we're going to address that a little bit, but first, I want to point out that title insurance is an insurance for the past, and all the other insurance policies out there cover the future. So this is one of the very few types of insurance that actually covers the past, which is very unique, and there's a lot to know about it. So welcome to the show, Jess.
Thanks, Shannon. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you on again. And so just give us an overview, first of all. What is a title policy?
Sure. So a title policy is when a title company checks the records, the land records, to see who the chain of title, to see who owned the property prior, and to make sure there's no breaks in that title and misconceptions on who owned it prior. It also checks for liens, which we'll talk about later.
Okay. And I know when you, as a realtor, when we have a property go under contract, we get a title commitment, and that's what we're reviewing and the clients are reviewing. And at closing, you actually get the policy. So sometimes people get that confused because we talk about the title commitment during contract, and then after the contract ends and you've closed, then it becomes the policy. So I want to clarify that just in case anybody has a little confusion on that. But a title policy, the title commitment is the same thing as the title policy. Should be, if everything goes well.
Well, the good thing about having a commitment is this is what the commitment of the future policy will be. And in that commitment stage, you can work with an attorney on if there are any liens or things that have expired that should not be exceptions on the policy. The attorney can work with the title company to get those taken off. So then your policy is protecting you more than the commitment in the first place.
And what is the title company's role in all of this?
Well, the title company is not an advocate for the buyer, seller, or the lender. The title company is really a neutral third party giving you information and giving you a policy that protects you from what happened in the past. But they are not your advocate. Their attorney is not your advocate, and they are not your advocate. So you really need your own advocates and your own real estate agent and your own attorney to review that commitment for you.
Because I've had a lot of clients that when we write the contract for the property, they want to have the contract reviewed, but then they don't care about having the commitment reviewed. And if you're going to do one, do both. I mean, if you're concerned about anything with it, to me, the commitment is more important than the contract.
Right. And usually real estate agents use the truck form contract. So a lot of the terms are just business terms.
Right.
And what's really important is the commitment, because that is going to protect you throughout the whole term of your ownership, and even after you don't have the property anymore. If someone comes back and tries to sue you, that's what that policy is for.
So even after you've sold the policy years later, you can still be in a lawsuit involving that property, even though you haven't owned it for years.
You're not selling the policy, you're selling the property. And the policy protects you because when you transfer that warranty deed and that title over to the next person, you're warranting that deed is proper, and that you're warranting that you had the right to that title, and so did everyone else before you.
So really, everybody that's involved in that lawsuit, in that chain of title, needs to have their own policies.
Exactly. And that's why lenders have lenders policies when you're getting funding from a bank. Mm-hmm. The lenders purchase policy as well.
One thing that we hear from title companies is there's a cloud on the title. What does that mean, a cloud on the title?
Usually a cloud means a break in the chain of title. There's not always a disagreement, but a lag of time there's not a definite next person in line. Or someone didn't sign under proper authority. I see this in a lot of country properties or selling properties between neighbors or friends, or if it's a smaller dollar amount property, where they don't feel the need to pay for the title commitment, and a widow signs for their deceased spouse under the authority of a power of attorney. Power of attorneys, you have no authority once that individual has passed away.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting that you've had some of that happening. I haven't had that happen, and I'm glad. But very interesting. And I want to talk to you about lien releases because I know, like for example, when I put a pool in the backyard, we had so many different contractors out there working, and so one of the things that at the end I want lien releases from everybody. Can you go into that a little bit about why those are so important?
Sure. So the reason why that's very important is because even if you don't have a lien release, make sure that you have a signed receipt that says it's paid once you've made the final payment, because you can use that for the company later if they have decided to file a lien. Some companies file the lien, especially if it's a longer term project, right away just to make sure that they have kept their procedures correct and are on the title as a lien. And then once it's done, they may forget to record the lien release. So if you have a paid receipt, you can go back to them later and say, hey, I paid, this is proof, please release the lien. And then they usually do quickly.
Okay.
And also I've seen that a lien release may be recorded, but it was not properly filed. So it was not filed under the proper name or the property, so it was difficult to find. And that also has caused issues. So if you have that paid receipt, it's easier to
So you don't
help.
really need to keep those forever. I mean,
Definitely.
keep them in your records, put them somewhere safe, and hang on to them, because otherwise it could cause you problems down the road when you want to sell the property, 10 years later.
Exactly. And same with when you're refinancing or paid your final payment, make sure your mortgage company filed that lien release on your prior loan, because that can hurt you later on as well.
Yeah, that's very important. If you're going to pay off your house, you definitely want that.
Yes.
Absolutely. So tell us some of the common issues that you're seeing. What are some problems? Because we're kind of advising people that they need to have an attorney review this. What are some of the reasons we're advising that? Like, what are some common things that people need to look out for?
Sure. So title companies commonly confuse some of the liens. There's over 40 different types of liens that can be on your title.
Wow. Give us some examples of those. Like what?
Sure. So United States judgment lien.
Okay.
It has a 20-year expiration date. So once it's on your title, it doesn't expire for 20 years. And that's only if they didn't refile. They can refile for another 20 years. But you would think that would include federal tax liens. Federal tax lien is only 10 years expiration. And so title companies commonly confuse these two different liens. And one of my clients bought a foreclosure property. There was a federal tax lien. The title company said, federal tax lien is an exception. So we'll give you a title policy, but if they come back and want this money, we're not going to cover you. And it was 12 years later, so it had expired. So I came in, I gave them the case law, and they took it off as an exception. Like I said, the title company is not your advocate. Your attorney is. They're the ones who are going to know all the changes in the laws. They're going to know the expiration dates. They're going to know how to get the least amount of exceptions taken off to stay on there. So you want to make sure that you have the most protection possible.
Yeah, a lot of people think that because they have an attorney working for the title company, and the attorney even draws up a lot of the documents at the title company, that they're under representation. And at closing, you actually have to sign paperwork saying that you understand that that title company attorney is not representing you, that they don't represent the buyer or the seller, they represent the title company.
Exactly. And even the lender's attorney doesn't represent you either. They represent the lender. They're only looking out for the lender. And so that's why it's important that you should have someone look over your contract, your commitment, and even the loan documents. I've had instances where the loan documents were incorrect and we had to change those prior to closing.
All right, well, we're going to be back with more from Jess Bailey in the last segment. But next, right after this commercial break, we're going to have Jeff Shore on. He's going to be Skyping in from California. And after we Skype with Jeff, we'll be right back with Jess Bailey.
Thank you.